Started recording again. I'm just gonna hope that moving back from the microphone a couple inches helps.
It should. You might have to turn yourself up a bit more later, but those little subtle mouth things might pick up a bit less. See how it goes.
We shall see. If anyone hears any mouth sounds, you can blame Kay.
It was me. Yeah. I'm just like smacking my lips on the mic. I'm thinking about like a delicious pie cooling on the windowsill.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth. I'm Alton. With me, as always, is Reese.
Yo!
And Kay.
Hello.
And today we will be ignoring current events in which nothing happened today. Nothing happened like a couple hours before recording. The world is normal. Very normal.
I'm ignoring them so much right now. I wasn't about to say anything.
That's right.
Yeah, I got no idea what you're talking about. The new Sonic game's supposed to be good. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Exactly. That news has been devastating. People keep posting about it on Twitter.
The police are going to visit those people on Twitter who keep complimenting the Sonic game.
Exactly. Right. The people who say it's not good enough and they would have done better, and that Sonic needs to work. Sonic needs to work on his aim.
You said like 4 times we weren't going to talk about
it. I make the rules so that I can break them later.
I love it.
But the other big news story is, I guess, about Dr. Disrespect. And I should have looked up all the different previous times we've spoken about Dr. Disrespect, because I know that he's come up before as like just a petulant shithead who keeps getting in trouble for being a petulant shithead.
Yeah.
Like specifically, I remember that one time he got in trouble for filming inside a bathroom.
Yes.
You remember that?
I do indeed.
I do. And I think he got banned from Twitch pretty soon after that for the current, but not for that, for the current crime.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, there was he's cheated on his wife thousands of times, it seems like. Mm-hmm. And then every time does like a public apology where he cries. And the best part about his public apologies for cheating is that for a really long time, he called his fans the Slick Daddies.
Oh,
the Slick Daddy Club, and he's like, "I'm so sorry for letting the Slick Daddies down."
Oh yeah.
I didn't think it's too dark to. I don't think we want to listen to Dr. Disrespect talk too much. But his apology videos are always extremely funny, especially too because even though he wears that shit, he still kind of looks like him. It doesn't change his look too much, so it's just like even when he takes the costume off, he's kind of in costume.
Right.
And so it's extremely funny, just like some goofy and full like mascot regalia, just being like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I killed my wife." Like it's.
I heard actually Dr. Disrespect was the shooter.
Dude, let's not say anything good. Yeah, please cut that out. We don't want to think anything well of Dr. Disrespect is why.
Yeah.
He's trying to redeem himself.
Oh man. I didn't know that he called his viewership the Slick Daddies. That's insane.
It is. Once he moved to YouTube, he got a less insane name. But for most of his infamous career, it was all for the Slick Daddies.
Yeah, no Slick Daddies on YouTube.
Here's a Reddit post that is, although I love the Champions Club ... the Slick Daddy Club will always have a place in my heart. And the top comment is, "I've been around since Doc had 300K followers. I think this was around 2016 or so. It will always be the Slick Daddy Club to me." What is wrong with these people?
Oh, that's so weird. That is so goddamn weird.
The only way this is okay is that if it's a haven for nerds to kiss and fuck other cis men. It's essentially like the bike riders. It's just cover for gay men who don't want to come out, and it's like, yeah, it's code. Otherwise, it's quite embarrassing.
Yeah, the Slick Daddy Club sounds like it should be an appreciation for Tom of Finland or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Do we want to go over what the doc did that betrayed the trust of the Slick Daddies?
I have an article here.
Go ahead.
It's pretty short. This is Polygon by Anna Diaz. Herschel Guy Beam, the popular streamer known online as Dr. Disrespect, has confirmed previous allegations that Twitch had banned him in 2020 for exchanging messages with a minor. Were there Twitch whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes, Beam wrote on Tuesday on X. Were these real intentions behind these messages? The answer is absolutely not. These were casual, mutual conversations that sometimes leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. At the time of publication, Beam had edited his tweet on X twice. The article quotes the original version of the statement he published. The past weekend, 2 Twitch employees have come forward to claim Beam had been banned from the platform after using the Twitch DM feature called Whispers to exchange messages with a minor. After the news broke, Midnight Society, a game development studio Beam had co-founded, announced that it had terminated its relationship with the streamer. On Tuesday, Beam shared a lengthy statement, which was quoted above on his official account, which described the rest of the story. And so basically, long story short, there was a huge brouhaha when Dr. Disrespect was banned, 4 years ago, 2020, 2019, and nobody would say why. There was a couple people who were like, I know why, and I'm not gonna say. And clearly, obviously, we know why now.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Disrespect got on YouTube and he's like, I did nothing wrong. I am innocent. This is woke mind he was that guy. And so now that, some ex-Twitch employee doesn't give a shit anymore, just tweeted, didn't even mention Dr. Disrespect's name. He was just like, yeah, that guy? He was banned because he messaged a minor. And everybody was like, oh, this is definitely about Dr. Disrespect. And then Dr. Disrespect just confirmed it. There was no question.
Yeah.
And so that's basically the long and the short of it. And amazing cell phones where he's just like, I want to be straight with all of you. She told me she was a minor and I still was an absolute creep to her. And the funniest thing about all of this, it's not actually funny at all. It's horrible. But his excuse is the exact same one that people use all the time on To Catch a Predator. It is so like just nuts and bolts basic Predator shit. And so that's the story of Dr. Disrespect, and his entire career is absolutely tanked. And I think what makes this unique is that I think for anybody who listens to this podcast, Dr. Disrespect is just another shithead. But Dr. Disrespect was honestly like ninja level successful on streaming.
Right.
Like on YouTube, less so. But his numbers were up there as far as it goes, and it was, Rolling Stone reported on this. It is a huge impact on the industry, which is kind of why it's worth getting into, despite it just being surface level, incredibly funny that a guy who cosplayed as a child predator was a child predator.
I think I found a thumbnail, by the way.
Okay.
I'm posting it in the meme zone.
Oh my God.
In case we use something else, it's Dr. It has like art of himself and like a knight's armor with a sword, and it's just his head on top of a fucking knight's body, and it's Eldering Shadow of the Erd Tree. So he got like art commissioned of himself, I guess.
Yeah, well, he did that with everything. Every new game he was tackling and stuff, there was.
So there's like a lot of very funny art now of this guy. Oh, here's one where he's photoshopped his head onto Mesmer. This is a lot lazier.
No, yeah. I love that he is the one who kind of confirmed all of it. Like he was thinking, I'm gonna get out ahead of this. And what he came up with was, yeah, I did it, but actually it's fine that I did it. It's chill. Don't be mad.
Reese, what did you say the excuse was? The one that they use on To Catch the Predator? I missed that.
Just that you just feel like, oh, I was just goofing. That sort of thing. I was like, yeah, I
Oh, I
knew she was
see.
underage, but I didn't mean it. When I set up a meeting at TwitchCon, that was a little goof.
Jeesh.
We're just kidding around. And that's specifically the thing, is that the age was confirmed between them. This is disgusting to talk about.
Yeah.
And then he made plans to go to TwitchCon, and to the point where like the National Center for Missing Children got involved.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
like,
Wow.
it's like such a serious fucking disgusting event.
Yeah, like we're laughing because this is like a clown of a human being, but he is a pedophile.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really fucked up.
Also, this is unrelated, but I wanted to bring it up just because I'm not sure if this is intentionally a reference to a certain FBI document that is carted around by the fucking alt-right, but he has a G Fuel flavor called Black on Blackberry.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What the fuck?
that is absolutely a racist dog whistle. I showed that to my girlfriend, and she screamed into the microphone. It was it's really fucking blatant.
Yeah.
And here I trusted G Fuel as a brand.
I know.
I can't believe this would happen. Longtime sponsor of the pod.
Longtime sponsor of the pod. They've been there with us since day one, where I was going to send Reese just like a 16-pack of the Sonic Peach Ring flavor.
Now that I'm trans, you can send that to me. I've now accepted that I need the Sonic Peach Ring in my life.
You've accepted that there's an acceptable amount of lead that you can have in your body.
Absolutely.
From the nutrients.
It's gonna counteract the plastic.
Yeah, a little bit is good for you now.
That's true. I saw an animation where somebody it was like the microplastics and lead particles fighting over space in your brain, and then it ends with the guy saying, "I'm allowed to operate a forklift."
That's how I feel every day.
That's gonna be our
And I'm
future
not.
soon.
Yeah.
Especially once I drink. Especially, do you think that there's going to be like a huge discount for the for the G Fuel? This is probably old. I think they probably dropped him a while ago, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
fuck. But this is so bad. It just everything about Dr. Disrespect is so fucking cursed.
It's change. It's just gonna be like, oh, League of Legends BlackBerry flavor on G Fuel. They're just gonna rebrand it.
Yeah.
My joke was that his flavor was FBI Lime Statistics, which I thought was quite clever.
That's pretty good. Unfortunately, it has the Trump problem where there's no joke as funny and awful as the one on the can here.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
The one bit, I mean, this is all not funny, but the funniest not funny part of thing that I saw was that apparently Dr. Disrespect had a DLC in that Predator Hunting Grounds game.
Oh yeah.
Which was the asymmetrical, so where Dr. Disrespect was the predator hunting.
Oh god.
Hunting all the survivors. And they're just like, did they know?
Oh, there's a video clip. Can we all listen to it? Hang on. I'm gonna post it in the chat, and then we can pause it at 0 seconds and then play it when everyone's ready. I'm ready.
I am ready.
All right, I'm ready.
play.
This could be the most controversial DLC in all of gaming. Back in 2021, Predator Hunting Grounds released a Dr. Disrespect DLC where you play as Dr. Disrespect, except he is the Predator. This could be the most controversial...
Oh, fuck.
The little animation of Dr. Disrespect jumping on the ground and kind of like bracing for impact with the same animation that the Predator does is really fucking funny.
Oh, God. I gotta check. I'm checking on Predator Hunting Ground now. I've got to see if that DLC is still around.
There's no way. There's no fucking way.
No, I don't see it. Oh, man.
He was in a lot of his DLC got removed. His Call of Duty DLC got removed. Some game called Rogue Company. Yeah, Rogue Company, a game that hasn't received an update since last year, is removing all their Dr. Disrespect content.
That's
They're just
fucking
having like
rules.
there's like an emergency like 10-year-old game with 0 players on Steam, and they're just like, let's sweep this one up just in case.
Yeah, that's from Dexerto. That the tweet about Rogue Company removing Dr. Disrespect DLC. God, that fucking rules.
What was great about those is like some of the brands, like I think like NBA or NFL, one of those games removed the Dr. Disrespect content, and people were getting mad on Twitter. And then like 2 days later, after it all came out, there was like a quote tweeting that and just be like, gotta reverse my position on the Dr. Disrespect thing. He's like a pedophile, and I guess that doesn't make sense business wise. Like
Jesus Christ.
Fuck.
You want to cap this off with the funniest video of the transition to our next topic?
Absolutely.
Oh God, yes.
Okay, so this is from Ethan Gash, American Truck Songs 9. You can see the exact moment Dr. Disrespect appears to find out that Midnight Society is dropping him, or some other seemingly bad news related to his Twitch ban allegations. He had just defeated Bale the Dread and went to look at his phone after fast traveling to Skadu Atlas. So I'm at 0 seconds now. We want to listen to it.
I'm at 0 seconds.
3, 2, 1, play.
How we, you know how we run things here.
Looking at his phone. He's just frozen.
His fucking face.
Oh, he's biting his lower lip. Nervous twitch.
Yeah,
Just gulped.
We got to put this in the show notes because there's no way we can convey this properly on.
This is the best part. The aimless wandering is what gets me. This is where it turns into poetry.
His mustache is just twitching around like crazy.
Hops into the map, like for 2.2 seconds, can get no information, just pushing buttons.
Big sigh. There we go.
Oh,
It's so devastating.
that is brutal.
And the music playing in the background, just like this sad fucking. It sounds like a cello.
Fuck.
The Elden Ring music coming over, like, it is pitch perfect. The music comes in the second his heart tears. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And there's a couple of these. I don't have access to the other ones offhand, but there's like Dr. Disrespect has gotten a lot of bad news on stream, and it's always funny. He always loses his cool, understandably.
Right.
It's the fact that he is a horrible monster comes to light, and he has to put on a show.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one of them where I don't know what the bad news was, but he starts rambling incoherently about, just the business, what it means to be Dr. Disrespect, how he's undefeatable. And he just kind of like forgets. Somebody asks him about like a Roblox hide and seek, like special mode. And he just kind of like loses his shit and stops talking, like goes nonverbal, while this clip of this Roblox hide and seek mode is playing behind him to 200 million people as he just like has this mental breakdown. And it's really fucking funny, but it's like too long to like post in a snappy fashion. And so let me just say, hats off to Dr. Disrespect for being like this. But yeah. That's all I got to say about that shithead. I hope he dies.
Yeah, and speaking of Elden Ring, we've got our next topic for the day. This is what Reese and Kay, for their birthday, I got both of them. I have to mention it. I got both of them the Elden Ring DLC.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
I accidentally
Thanks,
bought
Dad.
myself the Elden Ring DLC as well.
Accidentally.
by trying to get the North American region locked version, which worked fine for Reese.
Oh yeah.
And then I tried to give Kay the code. I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit, it's North America only? Fuck. So
Yeah, I pulled a trick on you. I pulled a trick on you by being in Europe.
I know. But even though you don't sound like it.
I know.
Damn.
People hate that.
I imagine you go to the store every day and people are like, why don't you sound normal?
I mean, in Liverpool, it's even worse than that, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not like you're in a Beatles documentary.
I do get asked where I'm from a lot, and it feels, like genuine confusion rather than racism in my case.
Yeah, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't beaten it yet. I was really taking my time with it. I took a little break because the Final Fantasy XIV expansion hit. But people apparently forgot what FromSoft games were like and got quite upset on the internet that it was real fucking hard. I think the funniest example of that was Asmongold.
Oh yeah.
Rage quitting the game because it was too hard, and it's like, basically it's being like, it's like poor design or whatever. And he's somebody who is famously like just a massive shithead about being a good gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Kay and I really just wanted to be the pettiest gamers possible about how it's good that it was hard, and it's bad that it was nerfed because they released they bowed to the woke mob, and
They fucking did.
and they made it so the Shadow Tree fragments,
the Skibbity Tree fragments, right? That's what they call it, Skibbity
yes.
Tree.
I believe it's just
toiletry.
Skibbity toilet tree.
I believe it's just pronounced that word is just Shadow Tree, and just like a funky pronunciation.
They're doing like an old English thing. It's the C is pronounced like an SH rather than like a K. It's just
Shadow Tree. Wow, that's lame. Is it like when they were like, actually his name's Blythe because it's Welsh? Like, I don't speak Welsh. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's lame, but it's certainly not. It's not lamer than the Skadu tree, which is so fucking stupid.
The Skibbity tree,
the Skibbity toilet.
Oh fuck.
But yeah, people kind of aren't ready for the reality that they are bad. They're baddies.
Mm-hmm.
They're BKs. They're bad kids. They're not good at the fucking game, and that's fine. But it's not fine if you can't like accept,
Yeah, and I think it's a matter. To me, the issue is I feel like if you look into a lot of the different issues, like there's somebody I follow on Twitter who's usually like a funny poster, and she was just like so fucking mad at it, and then it was like a punchline at the end. She's like, well, I finally beat it. That was awful. I recommend none of you play the DLC on New Game 7 Plus. And I'm like,
oh my
what the fuck are you
God.
talking about?
Why did you do that to yourself?
And there's just like videos of people trying to defeat the Divine Lion with like glintstone pebble. It's a little bit less embarrassing than the Elon Musk build, but there's a clear like narrowing of not even narrowing of the options, but Elden Ring is probably one of the more forgiving FromSoft games by far.
Right.
And you could really get by with kind of like less than optimal builds, and I think that's perfectly fine. But they really kind of dialed in on Shadow of the Erdtree, where you're gonna get one or two shot until you get the Shadow Tree fragments. And I was really fucking high level. I was like 180 or something, and just getting pasted by like low level mobs.
Right.
And the Shadow Tree fragments made it, certainly mitigated it, but it was still something where you had to sit down and think about your build or respec or use the mountains of shit that you gathered in the base game and try to figure out like a way around it. And I would say that like you were still able to like go through the path, and it wasn't as hard as some of the side stuff, and you could come back to that. And so I don't know. I don't want to say get good, but I do think that the game was good before they nerfed it. And I kind of was unhappy that they nerfed it a little bit because it was noticeably easier.
I was really unhappy that they nerfed it. Like the challenge of a lot of the early bosses, like Renala, I thought was really perfect for the amount of Shadow Tree fragments that you're reasonably going to have at that point. I thought it just felt exactly where it should be. It felt a lot like the Radon fight, where like it was challenging, but in a way that was completely reasonable. And then after they nerfed, like the in the original game, probably like a fucking year ago now, when they nerfed Radon,
Right.
and then it was just like, now it just feels off now. Like they just took off a bunch of his health or whatever they did, and it's just doesn't feel good.
I actually managed to kill Radon before they nerfed him. I just used the Giza wheel on his ass, and he just bled. Well, of course, it was also probably before they nerfed bleed. So he just fucking exploded in a shower of blood.
Yeah.
I mean, I just beat the DLC recently with my bleed character, and let me tell you, bleed is still bullshit. It was a fucking cakewalk. But like, even still, like I've played through the DLC a couple of times, and it's just not that hard. You just have to learn some new things, which is what the game always was. The game was always, you get your ass kicked, and then you learn, and then you win. You could say most video games actually are that. And nobody should ever be surprised by that being what's in front of them, unless they're a giant shitting baby, perhaps.
I want to confirm with you guys. I had heard that part of the contingent of people whining about the DLC being way too hard were exactly the same sort of people who basically were like, oh, if you use summons, you cheat, you're cheating, or, bullshit like that. Was that true?
There was a lot of that, I would say. And I think, especially in the case of Asmongold and a lot of like people who stream, I think a lot of it was trying to save face because they got their ass kicked and they have this image of themselves as someone who's good at video games, which is not at all pathetic for a grown man to put that much value in.
Right.
Yeah, it certainly seems true. And I agree that the game is balanced around using the summons, especially the bosses. And they are totally like, bringing a hard-nosed get good message to the podcast. I would say it's totally okay to use them. Whatever the game gives you, it's okay to throw it at the bosses. That's what makes it, very kind of palatable in going through it, is that, they give you a lot of new upgrade materials. So even if you haven't found the bell bearings in the original game, you can still kind of upgrade different stuff and try it out. And also, like, it makes it a lot more pronounced when you do find something that works against a certain boss. Holy was famously not great in the base game and is incredible in Shadow of the Erdtree.
Oh, yeah.
So many bosses are weak to Holy. And not everyone are, but you can switch it up and have a couple of different weaknesses, use Scarlet Rot on them, and then sort of like, play keep away, like these are all valid methods. And it feels very much like people just wanted their way that they beat the game with to work. And they were not willing to accept the game on its terms at all. And this is a game that part of the reason it's so baffling, it's so popular, is that it is so much up its own ass. It's its own species. You don't really it has very little give except for the fact, you can out level everything in and then the part of the people everybody hates in the base game, which is kind of like the consecrated snowfield and stuff, where that stops being the case. That's the part everybody hates, even though it's still the same game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's Millennia was I think still is my favorite FromSoft boss fight.
Mhm.
But actually, the final boss of the DLC that a lot of people complained about as well is giving her a run for her money. And similarly, you could parry him. That final you could parry that.
Yeah.
That's just a thing. You could parry that with a shield, or they put a new fucking flask. I wish it was a talisman, not a flask, because it's really sick. That lets you do like Sekiro style, like weapon perfect blocks. You could do that shit too. And that's just two of quite a few possible strategies. You've just got to like use getting good with Elden Ring. Mostly actually does just mean like Reese was saying, using the tools the game gives you. And the reason that this is an easier game is it gives you so many tools. You've got a million fucking options for every fight. And there's always going to be a few things that work really well, even if it requires a bit of learning. So if it seems way too hard, that means that you're just hitting your head against something that's maybe not. And there's an easier way to do it.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting about that the Sekiro flask tier is that when you step out into the shadow tree after you go through the cave, you can see the enemy in the distance that drops it. They very clearly know it's a special little treat and dares you to grab it. It's the sort of thing where, like, if any individual opinion, like especially for Elden Ring, I'd be a whole lot more sympathetic if they like bought the game and they're just like, I don't like the game, I don't like the way it plays, I don't like that you can't alter the difficulty. I respect that, but you have to kill Radon and Moog, go through the whole game. You kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I feel like once you get to the DLC, you can't cry bullshit. I mean, you can, like, I'm not the cops, but it's the outcry was embarrassing.
No, you've
from the people
never
who were
come
particularly
to somebody's
embarrassed.
house because of a Sonic the Hedgehog joke, for example.
And there was like the review bombing and stuff. It was
really weird.
It was a very strange kind of response, and I get the feeling that it's probably more of a vocal minority, but I don't know. I still wanted to grouse about it. Somebody got mad at me and unfollowed me on Twitter because I was saying it wasn't that hard, and I thought that was funny.
That is funny. You kind of get to see the perspective where people are like, "Yeah, it's not hard at all," and why that is satisfying to do, because it is, it is a humble brag. It is like, well, it certainly wasn't difficult for me, but then I don't know. It does seem like what you're saying, where people just weren't using the resources the game had given them, and I think the issue is just that it just took so long for the DLC to come out that everyone kind of got stuck in like a meta rut, if that makes sense.
There was probably a lot of that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely.
And where they weren't, experimenting or looking into new gameplay options the way they were when they first started playing. And then the DLC comes out and it's like, okay, now you got to switch things up. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm comfortable with what I'm doing now. And I will send death threats to the developers for doing this.
In the haters' defense, that it did run like dog shit when it was released because of the anti-cheat, I assume.
Yeah,
I'm sure that
Elden
didn't
Ring
help.
runs like dog shit. That's a complete change. I can't believe it. Yeah, but literally the most important thing to actually get a smooth experience out of this piece of shit is disabling the anti-cheat. Which disables all online features as well. But do you want to play with other human beings? I don't think so. You want to see like, you're missing out on the Dark Souls experience of there being 10 million messages on every wall saying, secret passage ahead, try rolling.
What annoyed me, this is a very niche gripe, but that was never as bad in the Dark Souls games as it was in Elden Ring. Because
Right.
Elden Ring cut through to like a wider audience, and I just feel like there's probably more like young children being like, that's a fucking hilarious joke. I'm going to make it now. That's what I envision happening. Because it got crazy, especially when the game first came out.
Yeah.
Just every wall that was like bare, there was a sign, and that is new. Dark Souls was not like that when it came out. There was a bit of it, but nothing like that.
No, having played through some of the older FromSoft games, it feels like there's some of that, but it's not as ever present. They're not having a little goofy tee-hee, just because there's less opportunity to, and usually the jokes are a little bit more mean-spirited in the sense it's like easy enemy ahead. And then you just get absolutely fucking destroyed by the titanium demon or whatever that fucker is in Dark Souls.
Yeah. My favorite recurring Souls joke is whenever there's just like a little narrow passage that you can't quite get through that looks like you should, and there'll just be a sign that says like fatty or
Yeah.
whatever equivalent they have.
Classic.
It kills every time. It's great.
Before we move on, we didn't actually mention the VG 24/7 article.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to read that first. Basically just the headline. This is from @VG 24/7. Elden Ring balance update makes the first half of DLC easier, so you don't have to be as good as games journalists. Which is,
I love that.
just firing back, which is, game journalists, understandably, to some extent, get a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very funny for the game journalists to have this moment to shit on all the gamers complaining about the difficulty.
Oh, that's funny. We beat it. It was fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what to try to get in the heads of these wretches, I think that they really did just, you beat Mog for the 12th time because you've played the game so fucking much. It's a piece of piss, you know it.
Mhm.
And you're almost not used to it when you get to a new boss where you have to learn everything all over again, and it kicks the shit out of you. And I think a lot of people just couldn't like cope with that sudden feeling of being back at square one.
I also feel like I don't understand why this seemed so difficult for people to grok, but like from the very first video I saw of like the preview, they were like, oh, this runs on a separate scaling than the base game. You have to get the skibbity tree fragments.
Yeah.
To scale up back to your power level so that it's a challenge for returning players. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. And then it seems like a bunch of people didn't get that. I don't know why. Maybe they just didn't see any of the preview stuff.
I saw loads of people right after they made it all a bit easier saying, oh, well, this is good because now you can play through it without having to explore and find the fragments.
I hate exploring in Elden Ring. That's
why
my
are you,
least
why are you
favorite
playing this
part.
game? Why would you play this game if that's
It's
like a
the
chore to you? It
worst.
doesn't. That's crazy.
The wonder of a brand new world, the closest experience any of us will be to going into a wardrobe and arriving in Narnia. Why would I want to explore that shithole? It's
Probably
stupid.
probably the best open world game created to date.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I don't want to have to like walk around. I don't want to like look at all that shit you made. Do you want like a boss rush? Like, I don't know what
Maybe
these people want. It makes me feel old. It makes me feel like the kids these days. Everything has to be a TikTok.
I'm going to say the number one contributor to this phenomenon is when you enter the shadow, the Skibidi world. If you go to the left, like one of the very first, most identifiable side places you can go to is a fucking nut destroyer of a boss. Like the Black Knight, the Black Jail Knight, something like that.
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
And he has kind of like a version of Marika's hammer, and he fires those like extremely deadly page explosive crossbow bolts, and they're like in a very fast volley. and that guy one-shots you immediately. And it was very hard. I that's probably the boss, other than Mesmer, that has killed me the most.
That's supposed to be like
I think
the Erd Tree Sentinel Knight, like from the base game that teaches you to go around things that are too hard, right?
I mean, kind of, but I think, since it was in a little tomb, people were just like banging their heads against it, like, this sucks. And I helped somebody named Guts beat it, so I felt good about that. I've encountered and co-opted and defeated bosses with 3 different people named Guts that looked like Guts. And so the game's 10 out of 10 for that alone. The multiplayer experience was good for that alone.
It's hard to blame them for lack of originality when that's like the FromSoft developers are basically like that, where they're like, what can we take from Berserk?
And they're right to do it. And there's never been a better From game for a Guts cosplay. They're right to do it.
Yeah.
Here's a free tip. That guy, you can not for you, Reese, but just for the listener, run sideways when he whips out his crossbow. Just run sideways. You'll never get hit. Just run sideways. Piece of piss. And then he's gonna fucking reload it, and you hit him. That's how you get him.
Come back to him after like 2 fragment upgrades. You'll be fine. And his shit is great. It's one of the most rewarding boss fights in terms of he drops a whole great armor set. Damn. And that hammer is incredible as well, and it's got holy damage on it, which is going to be great against 90% of the enemies in the game. So it's not like one of those situations where it's not worth it. It's like a challenge that it's what you want out of a challenge. It's tough. There's ways to do it, and then it gets you what you want.
As a cheat inclined coward, I have to imagine my first move would be to find as many fragments are just lying on the ground as possible before trying to like slam my dick in the car door. You know what I mean? That seems like the smart way to play.
Yeah, there's a few around the opening area. You can literally just pull up the wiki as like an interactive map.
Oh.
You can just pull it up and just show the fucking fragments. Like
I don't want to do that though, because I feel like I kind of killed.
I'm not suggesting that. I mean, you just said that you're inclined to cheat, so like
I know,
if that's
and
too
that's
far
like
for you,
I that's why I really feel like I wish I had never opened up the wiki for like the base game, because I think that the way to play FromSoft games, and I learned it the hard way, is like you gotta make the exploration worthwhile, to make it cool, to make it like as impactful as possible. You gotta just like kill the urge to open the wiki. And
I agree.
I think I'm saying I'm going to go find as many of them before engaging in actual combat as possible, but I'm going to actually find them. I'm not going to try and look up the wiki.
Yeah, and honestly, they're not hard to find. Usually it'll be, not always, but most of them are in pretty obvious places. Like, this is a defined area on the map. There's going to be something here, usually.
Right.
Absolutely. There's a couple, like, a little bit later on that might be tucked away, but especially at the beginning of the game, they want you to have them. There's actually, like, every time those crosses, I don't think this is a spoiler, like they have a different kind of bonfire, and the whole point of those things that you can see from miles away is the fact that Michaela dropped a Skibidi fragment for you. Yeah. So you can see in the distance, if I can get up over that cliff over there, there's a fragment. And so they definitely want you to do it. And the other really rewarding thing about the exploration compared to the base game for me is the way the game is so compact, like the map is. Like you'll like take a left and you'll be like, oh, what's in this cave? And this cave like snakes around, and it's just like leads into this underground swamp area with stuff. And the map is the size of Liurnia, but it's like 5 stories tall. It's densely packed with stuff. So it feels super rewarding to go exploring, because you're not just going to find a catacomb every time. You're going to keep finding these whole new areas with challenges and treats. And I found it's been incredible. I would say more so even than the base game, to explore it, just because for that alone, because I don't even understand how to get to half of these places, and I just pop out in this this like blue beach area I could see from afar 10 hours ago, and it feels incredible. It's really special. And if I'm being slightly capital G gamer about it, it's because I feel like the difficulty adds to the experience. And if you want to run a cheat engine or whatever else and just see the content, like I it's like more power to you. But I do think that they had it correctly balanced at first for what is going to make the most rewarding game.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Well, I think we should move on from that because we've been talking about that for like a legit like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think that kind of edged into video games are okay, maybe a little bit. So maybe it'll be a short premium episode today. Or, maybe our other topics can edge into the premium episode territory. I actually kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a little preview of what you get on video games are okay, maybe, and why you should in fact give us money.
Yeah, behind the paywall, there's a lot of edging.
So much. There's actually, I think that the North Korean gaming topic might get pushed into the premium episode just as a little teaser. Little preview.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. All right. So our last topic, I guess, for the day is Microsoft sucks ass.
I've heard that.
It's an ongoing topic. I mean, it's something we've covered many, many times before, but it's basically following up. I can't remember if we talked about this last time, that Wario64 post that says Indians games like Hi-Fi Rush, but it's killing the studio. By Matt Booty, whose name is always funny, much like Skibbity Tree.
That's right. That's his middle name.
Matt Skibbity Booty.
Yeah.
But this is an article from Aftermath, which is basically, I think, all the people from Kotaku who like left to form their own news site, basically.
Yeah.
But it's welcome to Xbox's rot economy. Everything is getting worse on purpose. And basically, to compress a long story down into a slightly shorter story, Microsoft is doing the same thing that Ubisoft does with like their pre-purchase packs, where there's just like a million different versions of the same fucking basic service. So they're splitting the service up into Xbox Game Pass Core, Xbox Game Pass Standard, and Ultimate, which all have different features. And they're basically removing the day one being able to play like AAA purchases. We can go into the article a little bit just so I make sure I get my information correct.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So on Tuesday, Xbox revealed changes to Game Pass, previously a pretty good deal that featured day one access to new games. I can't walk you through what happened here without having to write embarrassing phrases like, quote, Xbox Game Pass Standards includes the perks from Xbox Game Pass Core. But basically, all Game Pass tiers are getting more expensive, which Xbox demurely calls price changes. And the service is offering less access to day one games. Which is in no way read into what we did with our Patreon into this as well. We had price changes. We're splitting the Patreon up into
kind of like a pod pass.
Vigatuito Standard, Vigatuito Core, and Vigatuito Ultimate.
Oh shit! Is it too late to rename the Patreon tiers?
Absolutely correct, Alton. Us getting paid like 35 cents an hour for our labor is exactly like Microsoft raising prices on Game Pass.
Which reminds me, we have to read out the name of the two people who are actually giving us $10 a month, and we cannot forget. I'm afraid of forgetting.
I have it pulled up.
All right, excellent. So what's really happening here, aside from price increases, that Game Pass is losing day one games. The rest is an overly complicated overhaul to obscure that fact. Xbox Game Pass Standard, which doesn't include day one games. If you want day one games, you'll have to shell out more for the now more expensive Game Pass Ultimate, or the now more expensive PC Game Pass. All these words crowd the mouth and boggle the mind, but what else can you expect when the Xbox names things? It's pretty
True.
fucking bad. Here's a tweet from Mark Serrels that just brings up how shittily named the Xbox is: Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series S. I've always been really upset at how absolutely fucking insane the naming went after 360. I always thought 360 was kind of cool. You know, they had like the branding to go with it. And then I didn't realize that after 360 it was going to just be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's very stupid.
Mm-hmm. So Xbox is making their Game Pass worse. And it is kind of... I think that there was another thing that I read that was basically how Xbox is shooting itself in the foot. No, I think that was from Cold Takes, from the other site that rose like a phoenix from the ashes of The Escapist. A Second Wind, that was Frost, and he was talking about how Xbox are kind of shooting themselves in the foot by having this service, even though it's like was a good deal. And so now, to discourage people from just getting the Game Pass and playing, you know, AAA games day one on release, now they're doing shit like this where it's like you have to have Game Pass Ultimate.
I think that a lot of people, myself included, saw this kind of thing coming because Game Pass actually was kind of a decent deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit never lasts. Like,
No.
the business model is so well trod at this point. Like, this is how Starbucks exists. They fucking open up a ton of them. They undercut local coffee shops. And then when they're gone, fucking, you do whatever the fuck you want. Close half these superfluous Starbuckses that you don't need. Charge whatever the fuck you want. It was always about, we're going to undercharge what we plan to get people like into this kind of ecosystem, and frankly just get subscriptions piled up that many people will probably forget that they even have. And then we charge what we actually intend to.
Well, I think the issue is as well, this was started before, like in an era of Microsoft. Like, Microsoft was always a behemoth, but now it's the behemoth that owns Activision Blizzard, right?
Right.
It has all... Exactly. And so probably Elder Scrolls Online makes more money than Game Pass at this point. For a company with those kind of business needs, the absolutely hysterical and insane yearning for scalability, like, they're not going to be able to balance the kind of game plan you need to make Game Pass work for people, because they just want everybody to be on it forever and to pay even increasingly ever more, and they don't really understand it. And I think that, like, we've already talked about it on the pod, but like Starfield was like the perfect failure for the Game Pass because it was released in such a dog shit state. Everybody got a month of Game Pass, tried it out. They're like, this sucks, and never went back to it.
Yeah.
And they've added all of this stuff to it now to make it a somewhat normal game that somebody might pick up on the bargain bin or on sale and enjoy it. But, you know, the reputation has been ruined at this point. And that's kind of my understanding watching Jeff Gertzman's show. That's kind of the case in the big picture version of the case for a lot of games, where it used to be Game Pass was a great deal because Microsoft would pay you a lot of money, you would get your game out there, it was kind of fresh and exciting. Now it's a death sentence to your game, and all you're going to get from it is what Microsoft gives you to put on the platform. And so, and there's a number for where that makes sense. And even then, it tastes bad, right? It's like, even though your whole paycheck is from Microsoft, your team spent 2 years on this game, nobody respects you, and now it goes down in history as part of, you know, the Game Pass churn, rather than being an exciting game that's built up a community. It's the same thing with like Netflix original movies, where, you know, a lot of people see some Chris Hemsworth action movie when it comes out on Netflix, because what else are you going to put on? But nobody fucking remembers what any of them are after it's over. It hasn't built up any love. It's really shot themselves in the foot with just a full auto machine gun.
And, well, we're at an hour. Would we like to continue ragging on Microsoft, or are we ready to wrap things up for the premium side of the podcast?
I mean, it sounds like it's time.
Yeah, that was my entire thing, is just that it's a massive failure. It's very funny to have these issues after crushing Hi-Fi Rush. And the reality is that I think Call of Duty is just going to eat Microsoft from the inside out. It just makes so much money that it's just going to become...
Activision Blizzard seems like they just purchased a several billion-dollar poison pill because they cannot keep console exclusivity, but why else would you buy that? Like, that's the only reason to buy a company, so that you can be like, this is an Xbox exclusive. But the way that those companies, those huge corporations, remain viable is by being on every single platform they can.
Yeah.
It's like Microsoft is just making dumb decision after dumb decision, and the people who are going to suffer is not Microsoft, probably. It's going to be the Hi-Fi Rushes of the world. It's going to be, Obsidian. Probably Obsidian is probably going to get closed down after making like their best fucking game yet, which will not be the sequel to The Outer Worlds.
No, Avowed is gonna fuck, and then they're gonna instantly get closed down.
That's probably what's gonna happen. Oh fuck! So lots to look forward to. At least there'll be a lot of stories for us to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Well, since we have a greater clip of episodes being released, thank you, Microsoft, for this perpetual motion machine of fuck ups.
I didn't like playing video games anyway. It's fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna emulate it in 20 years on the Xbox Series X emulator that comes out, and I'm gonna put that all on a flash drive and give it to my daughter so she can have,
Yeah.
The
I mean, the thing is that it's at this point, an Xbox emulator is like a modern day PC.
Pretty much, yeah, because it's like it's literally like an x86 processor that's just like an APU from fucking AMD for like, you probably have, if you get it, just right, you could probably have like an emulator that does both PS5 and Xbox.
Probably.
That would rule.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. All right. Well, let's wrap things up. So, Reese, where can people find you and your postings online?
Well, let's read out the names of our
good point.
The Hammer Elite. If you truly love us, and you truly get it, you get video games, your opinions are correct, there's a Patreon tier where this can be acknowledged. And for this episode, for its debut, our bravest little soldier, Conky, has subscribed. And what can be said about Conky that hasn't already been said without getting him arrested? Thanks, Conky. And also joining him is our wonderful pod DM Glucose Lucy, the beautiful woman who we all know and love. There are less bits to be had there, but we still love you all the same, and thank you.
One of these days we will finish that game that we're currently has been delayed 6 months or something.
Oh my god, I want to finish it so bad. It's been so good. Lucy, it's so good.
It's been great. It's been great, Lucy. We just got to do it. It's just the world keeps getting worse, and our bodies keep dying more and more. We just need to have one final session.
Yep. And then we can move on to the Dune RPG, which I will psychologically bully everyone into playing. No, just kidding. I'm actually probably more excited about that Heart RPG I talked to everyone about. That shit looks amazing.
I think you linked me that video. Yes. I remember that being cool.
There's a British guy who does videos. He reviews RPGs, or tabletop RPGs, and Heart seems like the fucking best. It looks so good. I want to play that. You can be like a witch made of bees. Incredible. If you got bees in your game, that's if you can use bees as a power, that's a 10 out of 10 game right there. Saved BioShock. being a 5 out of 10 trash game.
Absolutely. No B's? Come on.
All right. Well, then in that case, Reese, where can people find you now?
If you would like to see me be deeply mentally ill online, you can check me out on x.com at Reese V Writer. Also Blue Sky, where you'll probably see me post less mentally ill things, alongside the sea of agender buttholes that are posted throughout that on my timeline anyway. Or you can check out my other podcast, CRT Sound System, a video game music episode that we've had both Kay and Alton on, but Alton's Sonic R episode is starting to garner legendary status. I've had several guests come on and just be like, I listened to that Sonic R episode. And whoo doggy. And that's the end of the sentence. We're like, yeah, we know. So yeah, check that out. And also check out Existential Warfare. At some point, I'm going to release another episode. That's it.
All right. Kay, where can people find you online?
I now feel like I need to go back on Reese's pod and live up to some sort of podcast reputation.
You trying to one up my mentally ill Sonic episode?
And really, having listened to it, there's only one way I can beat that. I'm gonna say it. Anyway.
Oh God.
That is a joke. You can find me at K and Skittles on everything: Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, at the bank. All the links will be in the link tree.
In England,
watch my videos.
Terrifying the locals.
You can find me in England. I am a bit of a problem here. That's why I had to take out Lizzie. She got too close to the truth. Yeah, that's it.
All right, and you can find me. Go to Linktree, linktr.ee/RudeFoxAlton, I think. And you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Twitch, YouTube for some reason, because I haven't uploaded there in months. And you can find our podcast at videogamestheworst at pinecast.co or on patreon.com/vgatwito. And you can give us $3 a month to listen to all of our new premium content, which we are going to be making right after this. And $1 a month, I think that gets you access to all of our old stuff, right, Reese?
That's correct. There is an ancient era of Patreon stuff you can go through, which has a lot of great stuff. The Mountain Dew episode is well worth your dollar. The Jeffrey Epstein episode, where might be it's certainly a unique flavor of mentally ill for us. When it's definitely us going, everything's connected, man. So you got to check that one out. And yeah, it pays us $3. It's not that much.
Yeah. Or if you want to be, if you want to be like a true poster, you got to give the $10 Hammer Elite, which is $2 more than what I said it was. But it Kay and Reese outvoted me and were like, we don't want to read a bunch of names. Which makes sense.
Feel like why
I can take it out, but I think I want to be honest with our listeners and that we don't want to read your names. So
this is something you're forcing us to do with your money.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is kind of funny.
I have a visual novel with the money that Conky gave me, so I do want to read your names. So
that's true. See, let's part of the premium episode will be telling all the premium subscribers what we did with the podcast money. I think that's pretty good. All right. Well, absolutely. Thanks you everyone for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
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 You're now listening to Evening.